Uh-oh. Oh, no.
You sound like one of those Nick Jr. like cartoons now. Can you see the problem? I found it on my own. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I already posted it in my Discord. We're one step ahead of you.
How about now? Mike shouldn't be muted anymore. Why was the mic even muted? See, this is the problem. This is the problem. Popcorn is ready. Hello, Kyle. Let's see if I can. Oh, yeah, that's something else I have to get to work. Pop out chat. Get my overlay URL handy. Go to my browser. Overlay. That's not. All right, here we go. Boom. All right, test. Oh, wait, that's not the test.
Hello,
There we
test.
go. All right, my chat overlay is working. Player 2's name is wrong. Player 3's name is about to not be wrong in like 2 seconds.
Wow, Yarden. See that?
Now we just have to fix his webcam.
He's also Kevin Kenson.
He
Oh, no, he's
shouldn't
not anymore.
be.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I said
He
that right as you were
shouldn't
changing it.
be.
We got Tolkien and Miyamoto in there now.
Ooh.
Look at the baby.
How do I fix this?
Oh, it's me.
Actually, you know how I can fix this?
Good,
I
you
know how
see
to
my
fix this.
Arby's.
Whoop, that's not how you fix it. I wish I could rearrange this full screen view. That's the problem.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's obnoxious. You can't like mess around with that at all.
So
Have to,
I
like, pick
can
different sources.
get rid of my camera. Boom. Fixed it.
Wow.
Look at that.
Ah, it's me.
Hi, chat.
Better not.
Kyle the
Yes.
Pug says hi.
Oh, hello, Kyle. Oh,
Oh, no,
He said it
wasn't
to
talking
Frisk.
to you.
I'm catching up. I see what everyone's putting down. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm just going to cut all of that out in the VOD. But hi, I'm Laughing Boy LP, and I'm here with two very lovely guests. We've got forestminish with us tonight. Hello.
Hey, thanks for inviting me back.
Yep. I was about to say, you've been on the show 10 times, so I believe the 11th time is free.
Wait, has it really been 10?
How many episodes I did this year? Probably like 9. You've been in, I think, all but one of them. So,
Wow.
good job.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then with us for the first time is Mike Minotti. Did I say that right? I should have asked
Right.
before.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's right. Minotti. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. And we are here to do our Q&A session. We always start off, this year we've been starting off all of our podcast episodes with a Q&A session with chat, just to get you guys like revved up and ready to talk about 2023. Rebecca is a superstar. She's my superstar.
Buttering me up.
Yeah, that's right. I have to keep the talent happy. So how you guys doing tonight?
Oh, good.
I'm tired.
I'm tired a bit also. I've been too busy for like this week before Christmas. Like not even with Christmas stuff, just a lot of work and other obligations getting through still, and then I could probably start relaxing. But people are starting to come into town. Actually, after this, I'm going to watch wrestling with one buddy who's back in town.
Nice.
There's going to be gatherings and parties soon, so it'll be fun soon, but still a bit of work to do before all that.
All right. Well, at least you got some plans going on.
Yesterday, I came home from work and I took a nap, and I didn't wake up until 9:30, and then I ate a bowl of cereal, and then I fell asleep again until 2:30, and then I'm like, I guess there's not really a point to staying up, so I went back to sleep, and then I woke up like 10 minutes before I had to leave for work,
There you go.
and we had a faculty meeting, and I was late to it.
Ooh.
So I slept for like 14 hours and was still late to work.
Well, there's a point where, like, after hour 11, it is actually too much sleep, and you feel like it's rough to get out of bed, and you can never get well
Yes.
rested, and you feel like crap when you wake up from that.
That's
I
exactly what it was.
well, and I'll get like massive head pains if I do that. Here, I'm just testing
Yeah.
this.
Yes,
That
I had a
working
headache for the
perfectly.
whole like first 4 hours of work today.
Yeah,
It was
it's rough.
horrible.
Yeah, I'm
It was
sorry.
not worth it. Would not recommend. But I'm caught up on sleep, so.
Yeah. Well, Frisk is catching up on his sleep too. Look at
Mhm.
that sleepy
Yeah.
kitty. I love that.
I'm sure Frisk is really behind on sleep sometimes.
He had such a hard day. He like was watching birds through the window and like was sleeping and ate a little bit. Oh, it was Frosted Flakes, which I don't normally have, Yarden. I'm not normally a Frosted
Ooh.
Flakes eater, but yesterday or the other day, 2 days ago at the grocery store, I was like, you know what? I kind of want Frosted Flakes. I was
Yeah.
like craving it.
It probably is like a lot of sugar. You probably sugar crashed.
I probably did.
Frosted Flakes is supposed to give you the energy to go in the morning.
Nah, I don't think they could say that anymore. Right? Just pure sugar. I don't think it works like that.
Frosted Flakes.
I'm 37.
Normally,
I think
I'm a Honey Nut Cheerio kind of person, or this is an unpopular opinion, a Mini Wheats person.
Ooh.
The mini wheats are good. I like mini
Okay,
wheats.
good, yeah.
My wife loves mini wheats. Or she did.
Like-
She hasn't really eaten
She
them
does
that
not
But
as
anymore.
much.
I'm kind of a psycho. I only eat my cereal dry. I just like eat it out of the box, like handfuls at a time.
Yeah, it's a snack
No,
food.
that's valid.
Yeah, it's basically like a snack for more than
That's
anything.
valid.
Yeah, I don't like milk. I think I'm over milk. I think milk has had its time and it's done.
Oh, I do not drink dairy milk. I have not drank dairy milk
Yeah.
in like 10 years at least, maybe more.
When we grew up, like Big Milk was going really hard trying to
Big
convince
Milk.
everybody that milk was like the superfood. No, seriously, like
Yeah.
remember Got Milk? That was
Yeah.
paid for by Big Milk.
That was big when we were growing up. It really
Yeah,
was.
It was like drink milk or you'll die, and now it's like milk's not that good for you.
There were like the
actually.
advertisements with the milk mustache.
Yes, that
I like
whole
my favorite
thing.
ones was
All the
like the guy
celebrities.
dressed up in the milk carton. Like I have those ads just like locked in my brain that just lives rent free, and I just remember him like trying to like trash talk a bunch of basketball players, like street basketball players, and literally goes like, "You want the D, you need me." And I was like, that's
What?
perfect nowadays.
Wow. Wow.
If you ever want the D, you got to get me.
Yarden wants us to do a cereal tier list.
I am like so simple. I like anything that's kind of like more of in the cinnamon or kind of like
Yes.
nut flavored realm. So I have a lot of like honey nut checks as my go-to these days. I don't like chocolate that much anymore. So all the chocolate.
Oh my god,
ones-
I was literally gonna say chocolate cereals are F tier. Like I cannot eat a chocolate cereal.
I'm
I can't.
sorry.
No Cocoa Puffs,
mm,
Cocoa Krispies,
Yeah.
Cocoa whatever,
Pebbles,
Choco
Count
Pebbles,
Chocula. Nah, I can't do it
Choco
anymore.
Krispies. No.
So,
No.
I was
the
the
only one
Cereal should not be chocolatey.
I'll kind of allow Cookie Crisp. It's just got those little chocolate like specks in them. That's
Yeah.
okay.
I was a huge like somebody asking in chat like, do you put milk first or cereal first? I'm a cereal first person.
Honestly, in the other way,
But nobody pours the milk first.
yeah,
They're
that's
liars.
psychotic. Come on,
I think I
That
did
makes no
once as a
sense.
child just because I wanted to try something different.
that'd
And
be
then
like
it made a mess, and then you got in trouble.
Yeah, because
That'd
I
be
feel
like
like I
the
have less cereal now.
it'd be like at the soda fountains at like the fast food restaurants. If you put the pop in and then the ice, it just splatters everywhere. Like what? Are you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah, no, it doesn't make no sense.
What are you talking about?
No. What are you talking-
Also A tier, peanut butter Captain Crunch.
Yeah, that one's very good. I'm a big Kix guy. I don't know if Kix gets a lot of love, but Kix is very simple. It has a very like subtle sweetness to it. Kix is good.
I was a Berry Berry Kicks fanatic when I was much younger, like early 90s when I was like 4. That was my cereal of choice. And then
I feel like it's got to have a flavor though. It's got to be like a kind of Kix. It can't
Nah,
just be normal Kix.
I like plain normal Kix. I'm
Really?
a basic Kix. Yeah. Wait, how sweary can I be on this show? Should I be safe for work?
I don't
You
think
can say yes. That's fine.
I was gonna say like I don't go out of my way to curse, but if it happens, I'm not gonna get on anybody's case about it.
All right, because like all right. I was about to
You
call
can
myself.
you
out.
can say fuck.
Well, I was gonna call myself a basics kicks bitch, but the
Oh
moment
yeah, no, that's
passed.
totally fine. I try not to say the F word as much as I used to.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
I probably should. But
advertisers and all that crap. Yeah, right now I always teeter back and forth between like, and I know everyone hates me for this, but like I actually really like Fruity Pebbles.
I think about the Flintstones all the time if that's a similar route. So
I don't like Fruity Pebbles or what are Fruit Loops. I hate Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops are gross. Fruit Loops
are horrible.
Give me Tricks over Fruit Loops
yeah.
any time of the day. Tricks so much better.
I don't think I've ever had that.
I'm not a giant Fruity Pebbles guy, but Fruity Pebbles make amazing like crispy treats. Like you can make crispy like Rice Krispie treats with any cereal. The Fruity Pebble version is amazing. It's so good.
Yarden saying we should kick Rebecca off the show.
Oh, what you do?
I'm sorry,
now?
It tastes disgusting.
She didn't like fruity. She didn't like the Flintstones cereal.
They
had like cinnamon pebbles for a hot second when I was like 15. I feel like
they did. I forgot about those because they were like star shaped or something. No, they were just
bigger.
really
they
big.
Weren't they weren't like the flakes. They actually looked like pebbles.
Yeah, I do remember that because they were just like I think like the whole thing was like a cinnamon comet hit Earth, and then they wound up like just making cereal out of it. Yeah,
I think the great Gazoo or whatever his name was involved. Again, I'm thinking about the Flintstones.
We just need to figure something out for this kid's cereal. Just a Gazoo did it. Just make that work.
Yeah, the Great Gazoo. Kids don't know about the Great Gazoo these days, and there's kind of missing.
It's a generational gap.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, look at all these other like pebbles. Yeah, Cinna Crunch Pebbles are from 1998 to 2001. There's also Winter Fruity Pebbles from 2002 to 2005. Man,
there's all sorts of variants. Those.
Yeah. Well, there's Birthday Cake Pebbles in 2021. That sounds kind of fun.
I think I had those once. They're fine.
Ice cream pebbles.
I feel like I'm not an adventurous cereal eater. Like I have not had most cereals. I have a few that I have eaten and will probably never try anymore ever again.
I mean, at this point, you know what cereal you like, right? Like, come on, what are we doing? We're gonna get adventurous, and then you're like stuck with a box of cereal you don't want.
Yeah, cereal's expensive. Oh my god, I don't know when it got so expensive, but like $5 for a regular, not even a family side box. Like
then hard times.
I could eat that shit in like one sitting sometimes. Like, you ever like just eat a bunch of like cereal? Like, come on.
A bunch. I don't know if I've done a whole box in one sitting.
Well,
I probably
no.
could. I think my mouth would just get tired. It's just too
like
much
almost.
chewing.
I will not eat cereal for months, and then I'll eat like 3 bowls in a row, like at 11 o'clock at night.
I do like. I don't get too many of the marshmallow cereals just because like I'm like, well, I'm already being ridiculous. I don't know if I can literally just eat something with marshmallows in it. But at Halloween time, I do like to get Boo Berry. That's kind of my Halloween treat.
Yeah, I'll definitely eat some Count Chocula or really it's just those two, like Boo Berry and Count Chocula, because I don't really get Fruit Brute or
Frankenberry.
Frankenberry, yeah, those don't come around.
They had a gross new apple one this year, and I did not approve. And
I didn't
put
even
it in
see
the
it.
Monster Mash. Yeah, no way, disgusting. How dare they?
It doesn't sound good.
No, give me a break.
Yeah,
they tried to make apples are so gross that even Apple Jacks doesn't taste like apples because they know better.
But why do kids like it if it doesn't taste like apples?
Oh my god, do they still have like a zillion commercials for cereal on like kids channels? Because I feel like that was half of commercials when I was watching Nickelodeon.
Probably not anymore. Especially because like I do know a lot of ads had changed over the last like 15 years, specifically because parents complained about sugary cereal being advertised during kids shows.
Right. Remember that little freak for Honeycomb?
Oh yeah,
they had for a while.
Me want Honeycomb.
That little monster. What the hell was that?
I don't even remember if he had a name.
I did not like it.
You know what? I don't like him.
I want him to go
not
away.
A fan.
Get him out of here. It's scaring me.
Any questions from chat that isn't about cereal? How are we doing? Thoughts about breakfast for dinner, like eggs? No, I'm a Brenner guy. I'll do Brenner.
I will have breakfast for any meal of the day. Breakfast is my favorite.
I'm not particular. It's kind of nice because I actually don't usually eat much of a breakfast. Like my breakfast is usually just like a granola bar or something. I'm not a morning person, so I'm not gonna like sit down with a meal
No.
before I get to work or
No.
something.
Listen to me. I need to ask you guys a question because I
Okay.
saw a TikTok that the girl was explaining how her boyfriend was in a fantasy football league and the loser of the league had to eat the number of eggs that they are age in a matter of one waking day. So like from the time they wake up to the time they go to sleep, they have to eat that many eggs. And so most of the people in the league were like, late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
And she was saying like my boyfriend's 30, like there's no way that he can eat 30 eggs in one sitting. And so
No.
she was posing the question to men out there or anybody, I guess, like how many eggs do you think you can eat reasonably in one waking day? And apparently men can be like, yeah, I could eat 30, blah, 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 blah. And I went and I asked Josh, thinking he's going to say like a ridiculous number like that. And you know what he said? He looked at me straight in the eyeballs and he said, I don't know, 3?
3. Then I'm done for the day.
3?
I could
Breakfast,
only.
what's your
Oh no,
dinner?
I
Limit
couldn't
of
eat.
eggs?
I couldn't eat more than 3.
No.
Like,
I like the idea because like I'm just waiting for this to become like the new TikTok thing of like POV when I ask my boyfriend how many eggs he can eat. It's like the new Roman Empire thing.
it is.
Yeah.
I think that's like what the new like TikTok meta is. So like my question is to you, because like obviously it's more than 3, but less than 30. So like what's
Yeah.
your number?
Like maybe in one day, like maybe 15 before I'm like kind of like getting sick, like and like.
Because like think
having
of
to
it
push
this way,
myself.
you can make them into like you can have like fried eggs 1 hour, then you
Yeah.
could have scrambled eggs, then like you can have a hearty omelet for lunch.
Yeah, I guess I'm not just thinking
Then
of it in terms of like, oh, I'm gonna get sick of eggs, which is definitely gonna happen.
Oh, it's gonna
but just, like,
happen.
right, just how like many eggs can I really eat?
your body's gonna start rejecting the eggs
Right,
after
you
a
can't
certain
eat the-
point.
yeah,
Well,
I
like,
don't know.
can I prepare the eggs in any way? 'Cause
Yes,
if you're
you can
telling me,
prepare them in
if I
any
can
way.
scramble eggs, I know I could at least eat 10.
I think I'd have to scramble all of them to get through it. To be honest,
Yeah, that's the only way.
thing.
And then my
Like a
entire
waking
body
day
is
is a
just
long time.
eggs and Tabasco
But, like, I
sauce.
also don't like eating just like plain eggs. Really, I gotta make like a
Well,
scramble out of it. I
season
gotta get
them.
some meat,
It's gonna
cheese in there.
come out the same way it went in, just
Oh
brown instead.
no.
Sunny side up.
That
I
yeah.
just had to ask that because I thought both answers were
Yeah, those both were
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
I don't know,
Yeah,
like
you can definitely eat
3.
more than 3.
He's like, I don't know, maybe maximum 4 or 5 at the
Does he
most.
just
I
not
was
like
no.
eggs?
No, he likes eggs.
No, like, I don't.
He's normal.
I don't know. It was weird. Anyway, how often do you think of the Roman Empire?
A good amount. My buddy is actually a classics professor, so like he teaches basically the Roman Empire, and he talks about it a bit. And I do listen to like a lot of history audio books, so because all of our history is so kind of anglified, a lot of it is about the Roman Empire, so it just comes up a
True.
lot. But, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
like definitely once a week at least, but probably more than that. I think about the Flintstones more.
The Flintstones.
I think for me, I was not prepared for real life society, knowing that I wouldn't have to talk about ancient Egypt as much as I thought
Oh
I
my
did
God.
back in my school days. I have to talk
Yeah.
about none of the time.
They did make it seem very important.
Very
It's important, but it just
I
doesn't
mean, it
come
is
up.
important.
It's
Yeah.
It
important.
doesn't come up a lot.
It doesn't come up a lot.
You know?
And when it does come up, it's usually something stupid, like people talking about the aliens building the pyramids, right?
Yeah.
True.
We're not talking about like the white crown and the red crown or whatever that is and stuff, like actual history now.
My goodness. Chat, how you guys doing? Are you enjoying us talking? What is chat? What's your Roman Empire?
Is it the Flintstones? Chat, how often do you think about the Flintstones?
How often do you think about Fred and Barney?
I think about
I
Barney
thought
all
the other day
time.
what my Roman Empire might be, and because like I think I finally found a weird one. I think about Tug of War a lot.
Oh
like,
yeah,
game.
that's interesting. Did you guys like have to do that in gym class and stuff?
We didn't do it in gym class, but we did
Okay.
it in field day every year.
Yes, yes, absolutely in field day. We did it.
It was like the best. It was so much fun.
We'd always do that prep rallies for some reason.
Mm.
Like, not somebody would. I forget who.
Question for Andrew. Just completed the Ragnarok DLC. What is your favorite part of the game or the DLC? I haven't touched the DLC yet. I just beat Ragnarok like this morning and cried.
Oh, nice.
It is probably one of the best ending sequences to a video game that I
Yes.
played in a very long time. Like, bar none.
I am very excited to try Valhalla. Hopefully something I can do during the Christmas break here. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I still have to do some like side questy stuff. But like I'm looking forward to just getting into Valhalla because the internet has not been kind in terms of not spoiling shit. And I've avoided quite a bit of it. I know it's only a matter of time, but I'm very interested to see like the story stuff and like the continuation or the epilogue of Ragnarok through Valhalla. So definitely looking forward to it. And I would say Ragnarok's probably one of my favorite games. Like it's probably gonna be in like my favorite games of all times list.
Nice.
Yeah.
I bet David Jaffe thinks that they made Kratos soft then.
You know, good.
Jaffe.
Oh, Jaffe. He can't even play certain video games. It's too hard.
Yeah, I don't want a guy that can't handle Metroid Dread to come at me.
Yeah,
with
Metroid
their
Dread's too hard.
motivator.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Really cool. And then, like, instead of, like, it be too hard, you have to, like, make it actually it's a problem with game design. Like, no, you're just bad.
I mean, there is something to be said about bad game design. Just, not this time.
Not that.
Not that. Not that one. All right. I'm just, like, messing around with a couple of things here. What would be the game that you've played that surprised and disappointed you the most? So
This year, this disappointed.
I'm trying to figure out, like, something that's
Um,
both those things.
Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life remake.
was surprising?
No, it was disappointing.
Ah. Ok.
I cannot remember which one's a Wonderful Life and which one is Friends of Mineral Town.
Mineral Town is the GBA, Wonderful Life is the GameCube.
Okay. Yeah, I still have my
Ah.
original
And
Wonderful
PlayStation.
Life. I think Harvest Moon 64 is the first game I ever played with romance options. And as like a kid, like somebody like just going through puberty, I thought that was like very interesting. I was really
Yeah.
excited about that.
I tried
Shout
to
out
do
to
that with the
Ashley.
original Harvest Moon, but like there's no time in the day to do anything. Like you're almost
Yeah.
tired immediately. So I was like, man, this game's brutally hard.
Until
Fun
you like
game.
level up your stats and stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty
It's
much.
kind of, I don't know. It is, for me, it's a bit like, if I'm going to play one of those, I guess I'll just play Stardew Valley at this point. Seems
Stardew Valley has perfected the
They really did.
Harvest Moon formula.
right. It's like, I guess what I really want is Stardew Valley 2, and that's not happening anytime soon.
If you want to Stardew Valley 2, I recommend doing what I just did and start playing with mods because there's like a thing
Yeah.
called Stardew Valley. I think it's called Stardew Valley Expanded, where it adds like new stories, it adds new NPCs, new romanceable NPCs. It adds like a ton of stuff.
That's fun. It has been so long since I played it. I bet even just like the natural updates might make it different. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I felt really
events and
vain
stuff.
because I went for Haley when I played that game.
Doesn't
Like,
she like actually get better though?
Yeah, but I didn't know that. I just went with her because I thought she was the most attractive, right? Like, the game wanted me to get with Penny so bad that I kind of resented it. It's like, there's Penny, and she's cute, and her mom's an alcoholic, and she teaches at the school and doesn't make very much money, but she's so nice. I was like, yeah, I like this hot one over here who's kind of mean.
I
Good.
just like the bartender lady in the original Harvest Moon. That was
I
mine.
never think I ever played
The
the SNES
original.
one, really. I didn't
I
play
want
it till
to, though.
64.
Well, good news! It's on NSO.
That's
Yes,
true.
it is. It is. This is true.
The power of Mean Girls. That's true.
That's right.
I'm trying to
Never
think.
s-
God, what game disappointed me?
I mean, Starfield disappointed me a ton, absolutely. This year.
That's true.
But I mean, I think everyone's talked about that. I don't have to go into details about what was disappointing about Starfield. I think everybody knows. Like games like Redfall were worse, but I didn't really have any hopes for Redfall or Forspoken. I thought Starfield was actually going to be good.
I think Definitely Scarlet and Violet in recent memory is one of the more disappointing games I've played.
Yes.
And the game itself was fine, but trying to do everything after the main story is just such a chore.
I'm not a graphics snob, but man, there's a line, and Scarlet and Violet just cross it. I just can't enjoy your game when it's looks and runs that bad. I just can't do it. It's too much.
And then we'll talk about this later, but I've been so blocked by like beating older games that I haven't had too much time to play games this year from 2023. But
That's fair. I did a lot of old games too.
See, I'd like to. I usually prefer playing old games, but there were just so many new games that I kind of felt like I had to keep up on that I wasn't as good about playing old games this year as I usually am. Well, they stopped me from buying too many of them, but I didn't actually play a ton of them.
Yeah. All right. The DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet was actually the high point in the game. Story is actually really well done. I don't really have a problem with Scarlet and Violet's story. It's just the mechanics of the game and the fact that like it's still busted.
Yeah, the fact that
I'm not going to pay $30 for the good part of Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, and it's still going to have Pilot Wing 64 textures. Like, I just can't do it.
So, oh well. Wow. For some reason, I was like, okay, I'm gonna ignore the thing going on my computer screen, and we're gonna take a quick break. I think that's enough. We've done enough damage. But we're going to take a quick break. We're going to get ready to record our audio version of this podcast episode to talk about 2023 in gaming. And then when we come back, we'll start our episode. So chill out for a second. Maybe let me know what ad plays. You know, that would be fun. Tell me in chat, what ad did you get? And we'll BRB. Wait, where's the button? You know what? I'll just go back to... Jesus, hold on. Be right back. Disheveled. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another fantastic episode 46 of DialogBOX. I am your host, Laughing Boy, and I am joined by two very lovely guests. First off, we have writer at Twinfinite streamer and grade S shit poster, Rebecca Stone. Hi.
Hi, thank you. That is a very good intro for me. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
I really thought I spent like 5 seconds thinking about that one.
Awesome.
And then joining us on the podcast for the first time, it is managing editor at GamesBeat, co-host of 90s Disney, Last of the Nintendogs and Game Mess Decides podcast. We've got Mike Minotti. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, for sure.
It's nice to have more people to talk about video games with, and what better time to talk about video games than a week before Christmas.
Gosh, it really is. It's actually a little bit less than a week somehow. And it's a little.
It does not feel 5 days away from Christmas.
No.
I'm just saying that right now.
Not at all. Not at all. It's been a really busy couple of months for me, though. So much travel and work and things. So time's been flying by.
Yeah, very same here. Like, I literally thought, I had to try and figure out how to get this episode done. I was trying to do like one episode a month and skipped like 2 months. And now I just finished the November episode, got that up, and it's like I'm already having to get this one ready for this month. And I felt like I just didn't have a lot of time. You know what I mean? Like, it's just all of a sudden it's here, and we just have to like get ready. And then Christmas, in like 5 days. Hallelujah.
I almost started singing that song from Shrek when you said hallelujah. I know it's not originally from Shrek, but to me, it's the song from Shrek.
Oh, yeah.
Shrek 2, excuse me. No, wait, Shrek 1.
Shrek 1.
Shrek 1. Yeah. It's Shrek 1. Excuse me, Shrek lore.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, hold on. Wait a minute. My favorite thing about The Last of Us TV show is somebody pointed out that, like, the new continuity of the TV show means that we live in a world where Shrek 2 doesn't exist.
Oh no, they didn't get to see the
Oh
"I
my
need a hero"
gosh.
sequence, which
They
is maybe the greatest moment in cinematic history.
That's
My
right.
God.
They just-
Unpopular opinion, I like Shrek 2 better than Shrek 1.
That's I don't think that's that unpopular. I think I agree
Is
with
it
you.
not?
I don't think so. Shrek 2 is a banger. Now, if you said like anything nice about Shrek 3,
Shrek
then
3.
I would really like be concerned about you. But no,
My
Shrek
favorite
2
thing about
rules.
Shrek 3 is that it is the third one.
It is the best
don't-
third Shrek movie ever made.
I'm
It's
not
the
even
best.
confident that I've seen Shrek 3. I
Don't.
might have. Okay.
It's-
Don't.
It's like you just don't have to. Like it just exists.
No.
Like it's
The
a
only thing
straight
you would-
5 out of 10.
The only thing you would have to know about it to enjoy Shrek 4, which is like fine, is that Fiona's father dies and then Shrek and Fiona have babies. They have baby ogres. There
Oh,
you
I
go.
did know they had babies. That is true.
Oh, they make
That
lots of
might have been
baby
at the end
merch.
of Shrek 2 or something like that.
No, the babies. No, Donkey's baby showed up at the end of Shrek 2. The dragon babies, the dragon donkey babies, but the babies.
Oh yeah,
in
because he
Shrek
got with the
3
dragon.
Got with
Yeah.
the dragon. Yes, yes. And don't think too much about the logistics of that, but yeah, they had babies.
No, let's for the next hour and a half, let's talk about dragon donkey babies. Which is honestly like probably one
Our
of the better
theories.
Twitch names that I could come up with.
Yeah. You know that episode of South Park with like with the hamster that goes inside of like was it Brittany somebody's butt?
The
It would be like
gerbil,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. It would be
Wasn't
like
it Paris
that,
Hilton
I
or
think.
something like that? Yeah,
I think it was
God.
Paris Hilton. Yeah. Fizzy
2000s.
Winks. Like
Yes, that's the one.
you must continue, Fizzy Winks. And I think there's a Fezzy Winks bit in one of the games, probably Stick of Truth. That would make more sense.
Yeah, because I think they also bring that back for like, I was about to say a more recent season, but that season was probably like 10 years ago now. So
I think Kanye had to do like I think it was like there was like Kanye episode or something with some other shit bag where they had to
fish
like
sticks? Do you
yeah
like fish sticks.
yeah.
Anyway, this is not the South Park podcast. This is DialogBOX. This is a monthly podcast. I swear it is. Where I grab people that are way cooler than me and I force them to talk about video games with me for about an hour and a half. In case you're new to the show, you can always watch it live and see our beautiful faces over at youtube.com/laughingboylp and even join in the conversation with our live chat. And you can get the audio version as well by going to your favorite podcasting service and looking up DialogBOX, all one word, DialogBOX. I definitely got
Did you
that
ever
right.
think about that?
Shut up. It's been a
But
long
dialogue
year.
is a word I still struggle with, to be fair.
Well,
all the
you
time.
I never know which is the American and British with the UE at the end. I feel like I put the UE and I'm not supposed
I
to.
don't know.
I could have sworn dialogue is LOG in American because we always like to simplify it, and then I think it's GUE, dialogue.
No, I think here it's still like OUGE.
Oh, we do
That's what I'm saying.
dialogue.
Because like
So
back
you
when I was
spell the name wrong
No, I didn't.
in your podcast.
No, I didn't. It's for SEO purposes.
Tell everyone you're British.
there you
Quite.
go.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Anyway, if you want to support this misspelled podcast, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. And if you like this episode so far, you can always let us know by hitting the like button. You can also support the audio podcast by going to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and rate the podcast, especially a 5. If you're going to rate it a 1, just don't. Just don't bother. Come back later. But if you're going to rate it a 5, that's the good one. That's the good number. That's the one we want. Anyway, instead of I just said it was a long year. 2023 is finally over. We did it.
We did it.
Finally over.
Careful. There's 10 days left. It's already even this week has already been weird. Who knows what could still
That's
happen?
true. Anything could happen.
Groundhog
Alright.
sees his shadow, and we get 12 more weeks of 2023.
Yeah, you
Oh,
you get 10 more days of people freaking out about Insomniac leaks or something.
Yeah, it has been. Whenever I had to come up with a synopsis for this episode, it's like it has been such a good year if you like to play video games. It has been
Yes.
one of the worst years if you like to make video games.
Yes, I think that's definitely
Yeah.
fair.
And I think no better way to start off that conversation by just what did we like about 2023? What games did we play that came out this year, and which ones did we enjoy or find disappointing? I think for me, if you've been listening to this podcast throughout the year, I've been complaining about it constantly, but I've been like completely bottlenecked by Horizon Forbidden West and trying to beat that game, and I finally beat it like a couple of weeks ago, like last month, like early last month, and also managed to finish off Burning Shores, which did come out this year. So technically, I did beat a game. Yeah, it came out like middle of the year this year, and it's a thunderous mez. Like it just kind of released.
I mean, did you like Forbidden West? Everybody at Giant Bomb, I do a lot of stuff over there. They all hate Horizon for some reason. I like it fine. But I could, if you liked it, I would like to hear some positive things about Horizon. Maybe.
I think what I do enjoy about this game is that it does what worked with Horizon Zero Dawn, because I really enjoyed Zero Dawn. I thought Zero Dawn got the huge short end of the stick. People who played Breath of the Wild at that time that were like, oh, I want a more story-driven game that does the same thing. Zero Dawn was right there the whole time. I think having it on PC probably opened it up to more eyeballs, but I really liked it. I think Forbidden West really lost me in terms of its just scope. It was just so much game. Everything was expanded by exponential amounts, and some of it was good and some of it was very bad.
I think that's like, I was playing it and enjoying it fine, and then I like looked at the world map, and I was probably already like 7 hours in, and I had like done maybe a 20th of the map, and I was actually just kind of like, I don't think this is gonna happen. And I just started moving on.
I finally finished the game and platinumed it, and I think it took me about 180 hours total.
I wonder if we're a little bit done with that. Let's call it the Assassin's Creed like Valhalla era of open world games.
Can we please?
Where it's just like, we're gonna make the biggest open world ever. It's gonna take 200 hours to do everything.
Oh
It's all gonna be the same still. Don't worry, but there's just gonna be so much of it. It's like, nah, no, thank you.
I'm honestly shocked they crammed that amount of game in what like little development time they had between the two games. Like,
yeah,
I
you're
think
right.
Forbidden West came out early last year, and that was maybe almost the same amount of time as it took between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Like Tears of the Kingdom coming out like 8 months later, or no?
Yeah,
No,
Tears
like
of the Kingdom
almost a
came
year
out.
It wasn't
later.
even
Yeah.
that long. Yeah.
Yeah, about a year later.
But yeah, like I really liked Zero Dawn, and that was like a 60, 70 hour game maybe. And just like Forbidden West just being the numbers game that it was, I hope they never ever do the racing thing ever again. That was probably the worst experience I've had racing in a video game. I don't know if Mike, if you ever got around to it, but there's like, you have to race. It's literally just machine racing. So you get on like one of the rideable machines and you just race. It's busted.
Oh, fine.
Yeah.
That reminds me of like old PlayStation 2 games. They'd always have like a random racing thing, like a Jack and Daxter or Ratchet and Clank or something like that. Like, no,
Like
you're
Cooper
gonna
had
race.
it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like how all the 16-bit era games always had a random like shoot 'em up level for some reason.
Well, you got to promote the mode 7.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Including Rocket Knight Adventure. Rebecca came at me hard one time for talking about Rocket Knight Adventure. She's like,
Never heard of that game before.
Do you want to talk about it?
No, I want her to play it, that she can get back to me with a book report.
I'll play it and we'll talk about it in the 2024 episode.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Year.
Yeah. Yeah, so Rebecca, what about you? What did you play this year? What did you find fun or bad about 2023?
This year was a long time coming for me because it was the lead up to Tears of the Kingdom. I live, breathe, exist Zelda games is like what I literally live for and what gets me going. And it just so happened to be releasing the same weekend that Taylor Swift was in Philly for her concert. So that was like the best weekend of the entire year for me. But that was the game that really got me through the whole summer. I played it so much and it carried me throughout the year. I still pick it up and do a couple shrines or explore a little bit. And it wasn't perfect, but it was still my favorite game of the year. And there were a lot of other games that I played this year that I really loved, but that obviously, to me, this was the year of Tears of the Kingdom, just because of Zelda.
Emperor P in chat. Rebecca, why didn't you play Final Fantasy 16?
Because I have not ever played a Final Fantasy game before. I've played a little bit of 6 that I started and did not continue with yet. That will be the one that I play to completion first, but I am not a Final Fantasy person, Emperor P.
Hey, you know who is a
Got him.
Final Fantasy person?
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it's just me. Or no, it's me. Hi, I'm the Final Fantasy fan. It's me.
Yeah, there
That
we
was
go.
for you.
I
That was for
appreciate
you,
that.
Rebecca.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. But no, 6 is a good one to start with. You'll be plenty. I actually played a lot of those Pixel remasters that came out to Switch finally this year. I did.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I started on. That's what I started playing 6 on that.
It's funny because I did 1 through 5, and those are all replays for me. But I was really having fun. And then 6, I had to stop because a bunch of other Switch RPGs were coming out, like Mario
There were
RPG.
a ton of
Yeah.
RPGs this year on Switch.
Yes, I think most of my Switch time has been RPGs. Even right now, I'm playing Star Ocean Second Story Remake, so it's been a lot of that. But I don't know, I played a lot of games this year, a lot of the new releases. I think all the ones that people have been saying are good are in fact good. Like Tears of the Kingdom, fantastic. Baldur's Gate 3, incredible. Alan Wake 2, all of those. Um, I did really like the Resident Evil 4 remake a ton. That is the game that I have enjoyed the most and played a ton of. Played it over and over. Just never played a game that was so well paced as that. Just exciting the entire time. And then also Pikmin 4 stood out for me because I was not a Pikmin person. I just finally went in on it just because everyone was talking about it. I had friends like Jeff Grubb talking about it, much they loved it. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll actually try it this time. And I really, really finally did get it. Pikmin 4 was just a really
Yes.
satisfying experience for me. I really liked Pikmin.
I agree with that. I think that is my second favorite game of the year, at least especially Nintendo game of the year, because I just like you, Mike, I was not a Pikmin fan. I tried 3 and it made me very anxious to play because I didn't like the sound of the Pikmin dying and I didn't like the time limit for the day and it was just very scary. So I didn't get very far in that game. And then I was asked to review it and I'm like, well, maybe you could find somebody else. And they're like, no, we don't have anybody else. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll review it. And then I ended up loving it. So I'm so glad that got forced into my hands because it was so much fun.
I'm glad. Yeah, thanks to the streams I've been able to do Mario RPG, I think if I was left alone with that game, I'd beat it in a day. So I'm using the streams as an excuse to pace myself a little bit.
It is funny how because that was my first RPG back in the day.
Same.
And I loved it. I haven't really played through it since then. So it was funny to play it this time. It's like, oh, this game's easy now. Oh, I beat it in 10 hours. I actually like that about it. So many RPGs are 80 hours or 30 hours at best. I'm playing one that was just 10 hours. Like, well, that was nice and breezy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
More games should be like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I want games to cost less and take less of my time.
Yep.
To be honest.
Are you like that? Isn't that Sonic meme?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And
I'm not joking.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding.
Mm-hmm. Gino and Mallow are also just my boys. Shout out to them. So good to see him again.
It's been a while.
I love Mallow.
Yep.
Yeah, Mallow's all right.
They're both good. Different flavors.
Yeah. One of them is...
No, you can't take it back. I heard what you said. You don't like Mallow.
Do you like marshmallow in your cereal? You might like Mallow. Do you
like marshmallow in my cereal? I just
do you
can't.
like wood chips in your cereal? You might like Gino.
Oh.
It's got pulp. No, backlog must be... Yeah. Note to backlog must be sated. My backlog is ridiculous. I don't even want to look at it. I watched one of my friends play Resident Evil 4, so I can't wait to actually play it.
So much fun. Gosh, I just absolutely adored it. It is like my game of the year. It's the game that I kind of pressure more people. Not that it's getting overlooked. It was this huge hit, but I think some people want to kind of like knock it down because it's a remake or
Yeah.
whatever. But it's not, it's not a remaster or some one-to-one remake. They made a new game. And yeah, it's based off of Resident Evil 4 and has all these similarities, but it's something very new and very different and very modern, very slick. The original Resident Evil 4 is one of the most important games ever, and it's still a fantastic game. But I do think that the remake is better in just about every important way.
Yeah, and the remake could have been. It's not like Resident Evil. I think a lot of people do revere Resident Evil 2 as one of the better ones, but like Resident Evil 4 is one of the biggest like games of all time. And to
Right.
be able to remake that game and to do it arguably better than the original needs to be like praised to some degree. So when it showed up in as game of the year for 2023, I know a lot of people were kind of like, "Excuse me?" But at the same time, like it's not like The Last of Us Part 1. It's not like The
No.
Last of Us Part 2
No.
again. Like
No, it's not.
Definitely significant when a remake, is heralded next to some of those other really
Right.
great games of the year, and you're right, that's an exemplary example of a remake.
yeah.
Right. It's more like the Final Fantasy VII remake thing, where maybe not quite as intense as that. Like they are really just making a whole new video game there.
Very
But definitely
divisive.
much more like that than say, the Dark Souls, or I mean the Demon Souls remake and things of that nature, or Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah. And speaking of video games, we'll continue to talk about video games. That was the worst segue I've ever done. Not the worst, actually. 4 out of 10.
I'll give you a
Uh,
C.
we talked a lot about Sony. We talked a lot about Nintendo. We didn't talk enough about Microsoft. What is going on with them? This has been an odd year for them.
This was kind of supposed to be the comeback year a little bit because they've been having some rough years. They actually started off really strong with Hi-Fi Rush. I thought Hi-Fi Rush was fantastic. Absolutely loved the look of that game.
Yeah.
The whole music beat 'em up mechanic is really fun. So as something that they probably see as more of a mid-tier game, I think that was a really big success. I don't know if shadow dropping it was the smartest idea. To me, maybe that's a game that if you actually marketed and had somewhat of a more traditional release, it may have done better. But after that, then you had like, remember Redfall?
Yeah.
Like that is really rough, and if that feels like forever ago already. But man, that's pretty rough for a game that was being touted as a major part of Xbox's slate. Like I think when they revealed Redfall, I forget if they owned Bethesda or not. It was like the one last thing at some presentation. So then for that to just
It
come out
was
and be a
Microsoft, I
disaster.
believe. Yeah.
Yeah, so for that to come out and be just an absolute disaster, that was rough. And then Starfield was where pretty much all the eggs were in that basket. And when it first came out, it seemed like, oh yeah, that is paying off, and I think it did in terms of getting people, into the Xbox Game Pass ecosystem, which is the most important thing to them. But man, just even now, the sentiment on Starfield has turned around really quickly. If you ask people about Starfield, I think we're going to mostly hear disappointment. And I'm there with them. I think Starfield had a lot of promise, and at first I was enjoying it. And then the faults with the game become really bare, really evident very quickly. It is just missing a lot of stuff that actually makes Bethesda games interesting, while still
Yeah.
like feeling exactly like a Bethesda game. So the absence of right,
The
like
absence of content out the gate is
Right.
like mwah.
it's like, well, this
Well,
looks
I saw somebody, and I have not played Starfield, so I, can only speak so much about it. But I think it was maybe a tweet or something today where somebody pointed out how, it's been some months since it came out, and there really hasn't been, a significant amount of fan art or memes or like lasting, talk about it like other games. And,
right.
me, somebody who hasn't played it, like I can't tell you the main characters' names. I can't tell you who, what the general plot is. I can't tell you. Like you're right. Like Bethesda games usually have like that meme or like those
That impact, that
characters
cultural
that stand
impact.
out. Yeah, the
Yeah.
cultural impact. That's the word I'm looking for. Which is a shame because Bethesda games usually do have that. Like, even if you have not played Skyrim, you have probably heard about taking an arrow to the knee. You've probably seen, the main
You know what
character's
a
like,
dragonborn
normal
is.
getup.
You know about the
You know the
dragons
Exactly. Yeah.
Fusro
shouting.
da,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. No, I think that's completely fair. And it is something. So it's hard to tell what the long term prospects are because they say they want Starfield to be a 10-year game, just like how Skyrim was, right? For Skyrim for 10 years, they just kept porting it and updating it, and they kept selling. I'm not sure if they're going to get that out of Starfield. They said they are going to update it a ton next year, and I'm sure those updates will be nice. I
It's
don't
like
know
they're
if you can
trying to capture
update.
magic in a bottle twice.
Yeah,
You're not gonna get the same kind of thing as Skyrim.
I just don't know if you can update the boring out of the game because the main problem with it is a fundamental one, where the game is so much about exploring all these different planets, but all these planets don't have much to do, and each planet is kind of its own like separate loading zone. So it's not like some galaxy
Yeah.
that you're really exploring in a ship. So what's great about a Skyrim is that you can pick a direction, just start walking, and you're going to come across 10 interesting things, and there's nothing equivalent to that in Starfield, and that's the major problem.
Yeah, just a lot. I mean, it did sound to me, and I played maybe a couple of hours of it and was kind of like, okay, this is kind of interesting. The ship combat wasn't exactly what I was thinking would be, but I also kind of wasn't really all that surprised. And I'm not like big on Bethesda, to be honest. Like I've always been more of a JRPG fan than a Western RPG fan. So to kind of like, I guess I wasn't shocked, but I think still one of the main things that I see online is like its greatest sin is that it is boring. And I feel like
Yeah,
that's a pretty big sin to have for a video game, is that it's just not fun.
right. And you don't have to be just because you're an RPG doesn't mean you have to be boring. Like Baldur's Gate
Yeah,
3 is so dense and stuff is constantly happening in that game, and a lot of it is sort of planned. I'm doing the quest, but a lot of it is I'm going slightly off the beaten path and finding a million interesting things, and all of it matters. It's not I'm on a barren planet and I find an outpost, and it's one of like 20 cut and paste outposts that they put into these scenarios with nothing really inside, so this is actually a waste of time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a game where like it's so dense, but people are on their like third or fourth playthrough of the game because they just want to get back into it as soon as they're
Right.
done.
And so, like what Rebecca's saying, so like even if you aren't playing Baldur's Gate 3, I bet you know who Shadowheart is. You know who Astarion is. You bet you
Hmm.
just probably know because people are just naturally loving these
Mhm.
characters. And they are, making their fan arts and just talking about it, sharing those memes. You're seeing
Mhm.
that Baldur's Gate stuff. Even with Alan Wake, same thing, right? Like
Yeah,
that stuff is just everywhere. Even if you haven't played that game, you probably by now know that there's some kind of musical number involved with it, right?
True, true.
yeah. I That is just one of the things that has really struck me, is that Microsoft put a lot of their eggs into two particular baskets, and it was Redfall and Starfield to some extent. I think Starfield being the bigger of the two. Like they were like, this is gonna be not even a system seller. Like this is gonna sell Game Pass. Like we need to
Right.
get these games out for Game Pass, and I think that's been
Yeah.
such an interesting take on trying to sell video games as a whole, because now you're no longer selling a system, a physical piece of hardware. You're now selling a service in the way that Netflix and Disney Plus and Paramount are trying to sell you on a service, rather than like an actual piece of physical hardware like the game industry has been doing for the last 40 years. Um, and do we think that it's been worth that trouble for them? Because right now, I'm just kind of like, Hi-Fi Rush being a shadow drop is the biggest piece of irony that Microsoft has to deal with right now, because that game did exceedingly well. And it's the game that they kind of like, here's the tax write-off game. Like
Right,
it
it
just
wasn't
came out.
treated as a big deal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the weird thing. It's like their best games are often these ones that get the least amount of fanfare. Their best game last year was Pentiment, right?
Yeah.
Which was like a similar, just kind of like this nice thing for Game Pass, and it's probably seen as this double A or mid tier game, at least in terms of production and importance. But it's actually the most interesting thing they're producing. I mean, look, they had to position Starfield as a big deal because it's what they have. It is their biggest game, and in some sense, it did work. I think you know numbers did go up for Game Pass when that came out. I think the problem is looking ahead in the future. It's a problem for both Microsoft and Sony. it's pretty weird. We really don't know what is coming out for them next year in terms of first party exclusives. Like
Mhm.
Microsoft probably Hellblade 2. They showed more of that at Game Awards. I don't think they really said 2024. Then PlayStation, we really have no idea. We could take educated guesses. I guess there's another Last of Us remake because of course there is, but otherwise, and
Yeah.
they have Final Fantasy with Square, and that's a deal with them, so that helps. But for both of them, it's a little weird, like because they have already had slow years, and now we're in for maybe another slow year. That could change at any moment. They could have some kind
Right.
of presentation in the beginning of January, and all of a sudden we're going to find out that Microsoft is going to release like Perfect Dark and Avowed, and some of these other games that they have already talked about, Contraband, what have you. Those are actually all
But
coming.
none of that
Nuts and
matters
Bolts
because
HD
Sega is
remake.
putting out a new Crazy Taxi and
Oh
all
yeah.
those other games.
That
New
was
era, new energy.
That maybe I'm just old, but boy, that was my favorite announcement from the Game
It was
Awards,
for
and I
me too.
still been
Mm-hmm.
thinking about like I was like the one guy screaming about Shinobi coming back. I was like, "Let's go! Shinobi is here again." But yeah, Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, Golden
Oh
Axe,
yeah.
Streets of Rage, and like that's just the start of it. So there's hope for a new Echo the Dolphin game at some point. Yes,
Let's
let's
get
go.
weird. I
Absolutely.
want a
You know,
Floygan Brothers remake. Give me that.
yeah. Well, like the rumor is that like we are actually going to get freaking Kid Chameleon. Like never thought that would be
Wow.
something that would come back. Kid Chameleon.
So that's why they released the Genesis Mini and the Genesis Mini 2. They're getting us ready.
They are getting us ready.
Getting us
And
ready.
hey, and my body is ready.
That's Nintendo's thing.
I know it didn't really
Mhm.
fit there, but I wanted to say it anyways. I'm
It's
sorry.
fine. It's all right.
I'll do better.
works.
Just say my
No, it
body is
works.
ready, but in blue font.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the blue stripy font.
That's right.
That is an all-time great font, right? The Sega font.
Oh yeah. No, we can't get rid
They
of
nailed
that.
that.
Yes.
I think the biggest disappointment for me actually this year, now that I really thought about it, was going back to our very first question, was Sonic Superstars.
Oh yeah.
Just because like I really wanted that game to do really, really well, and by like World 3, I just realized what a broken mess that the game actually kind of was.
I think I always had relatively mid-ish expectations for that game. So it
Yeah.
being what it was, and it shot like I knew there's no way it was going to be half as good as Sonic Mania. And it was
True.
it was still a bit worse than I was maybe hoping for, to
Yeah.
be clear. But what are you gonna do? It's Sonic Team.
Poor
They're
Sega.
just so weird. Um, it is funny because like almost immediately a lot of these new franchises they're bringing back look more interesting than like what they did with their last 2D Sonic game. But I mean, they picked a weird person to do that. It was Dimps or whatever, like the
It was
Balan
Arzest or
Wonderworld
whoever.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that's
Balan
it. That's it.
Wonderworld,
Yeah,
the
not
Chibi
Dimps.
Robo Ziplash people,
Yeah,
the
Dimps
Hey
is the people who
Pikmin
made other
people.
Sonic games. Yeah, exactly. It's like why them? Like nobody likes their game. Like I don't want to look like hey if they're getting work, good on them. That's fantastic. I don't know if they should be getting the Sonic video game. Isn't there like something else they can make?
They've single-handedly killed like 2 franchises for Nintendo, and I can't believe Sega was like, we want those guys. Although
But
to
you know
be fair,
what?
I think they're making they make the Olympic Games for Sega.
Hey, I bet they're very cheap.
Well, you know
They're
what? I bet that
Like,
they
seriously,
are undercutting
pretty
everybody else.
I bet it's a lot cheaper to pay them than to pay Christian Whitehead again to make Sonic Mania 2.
And they practically burned that bridge with Origins Plus.
Yeah. Well, that's okay because what the Whitehead Studios making that new game with the girl
Oh,
with
yeah,
the
that's
yo-yo. It's a
true,
3D
yes.
It looks super good.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna be completely there for
I
that.
look forward
Absolutely.
to that. Considering everything going on with Xbox, we kind of talked about their Game Pass, and a lot of that had to do with their acquisitions, and the biggest one by far was Activision Blizzard King. What do we think that this is going to mean for Xbox and its competitors going into 2024 and beyond? Because right now, I'm thinking this probably may not mean much for Switch users. They might get some Switch ports of like Crash Bandicoot, maybe. Maybe a new like people want that new Spyro game every now and then.
Yeah.
But they've been acquiring studios again to kind of promote we need games for Game Pass. And so far we've yet to see anything significant come out of this. So what do you think ABK is going to do?
I think we are going to see a wave of some like older Xbox 360 era games from Activision Blizzard hit Game Pass, similar to what happened when they finally did get Bethesda, when a bunch of older Bethesda games from the last couple of generations did flood Game Pass. So that will happen. Aside from that, I don't think there's going to be any huge things that we're going to notice in 2024. Like, that year's Call of Duty is still going to come out for every platform. Even Blizzard, I think Blizzard's only big release next year is a World of Warcraft expansion in terms of like a big release and not just an update.
Yeah.
So that's just a PC thing. So that's not going to really feel any different just because Xbox is steering that ship now, right? So I don't think we're going to immediately notice too many effects of that acquisition finally going through next year.
Okay. Rebecca, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that. I don't think it feels like, and I know there's the example of, the older Bethesda titles, but in general, it doesn't feel like they want to be putting out, as many of these like B or C list type games. I feel like their energy is towards these massive titles that come out every year, like the Starfields of the world, and I can't help but feel like we've lost a lot of beloved franchises over the years from Microsoft acquiring different, other companies. And they're not so motivated to make new games of those because they just take all of those assets and put them elsewhere. All of the resources, like all the developers. But I hope that I'm wrong about that, and I hope that we do see some of these, smaller franchises get some love, even if it's through Game Pass. They might come to Switch, but who knows? I feel like if they're going to come to Switch, they might come later.
With Activision Blizzard, they had already like done the giant consolidation with anything non-Blizzard, anyways, just being put on the Call of Duty machine. And maybe there's some hope that they can ease back from that again. Again, maybe Toys from Bob will be able to get to make that brand new Spyro game. Right, maybe some of these other franchises. I know Bobby Kotick's always wearing a Hexen T-shirt or something, right? Who knows? Like, I hope we could do something with Tony Hawk again, because Tony Hawk
Yeah.
1+2 remake was so good. But on that side, the people who made that, blanking on right now, they've already have been incorporated into Blizzard, and I don't know if you can unincorporate them. They're kind of on the Diablo machine.
No, I
And
fear that, like, because they're, like you said, Andrew, that they're trying to make games for Game Pass now, you're only making a game as good as the Game Pass subscription price. And, for these B and C tier franchises like Spyro and whatnot, like, they don't need to put that much development time or effort into it, and they don't need to make it very big budget because it's going on Game Pass. It's going to be at a loss for them at some point.
Yeah, I mean, and like even when
What's
Activision
the
Blizzard,
motivation? What is the motivation?
Yeah.
They've already got the Game Pass subscribers. They don't.
well, they have to grow those subscribers at some point. Everything
Yeah.
has to grow. The question is, how do you do that? Do you do that with
Well,
a new Spyro game?
nobody's growing for a Spyro game anyway. So why, you're
I
not
was about-
jumping to Game Pass for that.
I
Yeah,
was about to say I would grow for a Spyro game, and then I was like, that comes out
Oh
wrong.
my God.
But like, yeah, I
You
know what you mean.
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, I don't
mean,
know.
I think personally, yeah, you have to grow your subscriber base somehow, right? And you either prioritize a specific set of capital G gamers, or you try to branch out and you see who else's money can you take, right? And so the only hope there for me is that they try to incorporate more of those studios to create more family-friendly or E-rated games. I think Crash Rumble Arena came out semi-recently, and I think maybe that's a potential for them to branch out and see if they can get like more kids to hop on the Xbox Game Pass bandwagon.
They own Crash, Spyro, and Banjo right now. Like,
Yeah.
hey, do something with one of those. Like, you guys, surely there's some value in having more high-tier kid games on Game Pass, right? I mean, you would
we'll
imagine.
be lucky to get one of them.
Yeah,
They will be.
HD Nuts and Bolts HD remake.
And the others that don't get made are gone.
Oh, wait,
We're not
actually,
going
we
to
did
get
get
them
a
anymore.
Nuts and Bolts HD remake. Kind
Well,
of.
we got it in rare replay. A remake might be generous, but it got ported at least.
It ain't winning game
no,
of the
but-
year.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're funny. I get what you're doing. Tears of the Kingdom. I think to Rebecca's point, though, I think that they believe, and they might be right, the only thing that really is going to grow Game Pass are these big AAA games like Starfield And but the problem is, how many of those can you make anymore? Because it seems like it takes like 8 years and at least $200 million to make one of those now. It's
Yeah.
harder than it has ever been. And
And I
yeah,
think that's
Microsoft.
Sony's problem. They're really
Yes,
relying on these
yes.
big games, and where are your smaller franchises that you can be using to fill in these gaps?
Where is Ape Escape? Where
Where
is
is Ape
Jumping
Escape?
Flash? I mean, okay, but
Where's Sly Cooper?
in all
Where's
seriousness,
Sly
where
Cooper?
is Astrobot? Right? Like we had that
Seriously,
amazing pack-in game. Like we haven't heard from Team Sobi. Please just give me like a full game version of that. I am begging you. It would be
we
amazing.
need those B and T tier games, to get us through those longer waits. Nintendo has that. Nintendo has all of their smaller
Nintendo
franchises.
is so good at that. But even when Sony did have it, like with Returnal and that studio, kind of their thinking was, okay, well now Returnal can make their big AAA $200 million game with a lot of stopping and talking. I think, right? Like I think that's what their next game's going to be.
Yeah.
It's not going to be this like another kind of smaller game. I know they still charge full price for Returnal, but I think people understand what I mean there. No, I think that's a giant problem. Is that they have no business right now for those kind of games anymore. And you look at like the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, some of the best consoles of all times, because there were just such a wide berth of games. And back then, those lines were so blurred between like an Ape Escape and a Metal Gear Solid. We didn't really think of those as being on different tiers back then.
Yeah.
Times have changed though, and it's something of a problem. And it's something that Nintendo doesn't have to deal with as much just because their console isn't capable of making The Last of Us and setting expectations for what like the biggest, like most expensive games should look and feel like necessarily. Or part maybe it's just like training where they know that their fans understand that yeah, Tears in the Kingdom and Pikmin are going to like look different and like not maybe offer the same amount or even the same quality in terms of specific things, but these are also equal in other ways.
Yeah.
Sony could just never do that if they suddenly decided to bring back Sly Cooper. Everybody's gonna think like, well, why does this cost $70?
I mean, God, there was a game that came out earlier this year that I think received that kind of backlash, and I'm struggling to think of what it even was.
On PlayStation?
I think so, yeah. And it
No,
was literally this conversation of it doesn't look like, a $70 game, and everyone was like,
gosh, you
oh,
are right.
I
You're
wish I
right,
could
and I'm
remember what it
like,
was. It was semi-recent.
I think you're right. It's probably something that was like vaguely stylized, so everybody freaked out
Yeah,
and got mad about it, right?
yeah.
Because
Can't have
only Final
style
Fantasy
anymore.
16 and Spider-Man 2 are allowed to be $70, I guess.
Gotta have ray tracing and high fidelity.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, 60 frames promised. Um, I think moving right along, speaking of Nintendo,
Was it
we
Lies of P?
no, I don't think it was, because that one, I don't think anybody had a real problem with Liza P. There was just like some game that may have looked
Trying to.
like more cartoony than Sony's usual slate,
Hmm.
and people just kind of
Oh.
ragged on it. I just wish
Oh,
I could
you
remember
are
what it
right.
was.
Don't worry, I'll be on it. You can talk about the next topic. Then
Okay,
I'll just interject like suddenly and abruptly when I figure it out.
got it. Charles Martinet. That was one of the big pieces of news this year, was that he is officially stepping down from the role of Mario this year and is now becoming the Mario ambassador. So, in that sense, we still don't really know what that means. Um, do we have any inclination of what this could mean for Martinet going forward? Like, what
Oh,
what
he's
do you think this is gonna
semi-retired.
look? Yeah,
Yeah,
He's
I think
basically
that's a way
retired.
to get him, just to still have a name, still have a role, still allow him to show up at cons and do the Mario voice and be able to sign things and just, still have that title, to kind of keep him close knit with the company. I think for the most part he's retired.
Yeah, in wrestling, they WWE they have something called legends contracts, which is basically just a way of like keeping legends who don't actually do anything for the company on payroll, and maybe they'll show up at like conventions or charity events or something like that. That's what this basically is. For whatever reason, they were done with Martinet. They wanted to do so. They wanted to go with somebody new. I don't know if it was some spiteful thing because of like they got some flack when he wasn't the voice of Mario in the movie. I would hope not. But for whatever reason, Nintendo was done with Martinet, is what this is.
Mm. Yeah, because it doesn't even seem like Martinet himself really knew what this role was going
No,
to
he doesn't.
be. And I think there
Because
was
it's
some
not. It's just a title.
confusion. Yeah, like I imagine it's going to be something where like they open up a new ride at Super Nintendo World and Martinet's going to stand with like Miyamoto
Sure.
and he'll just be there and say, "Let's a go," and then they cut the
And he'll
tape and
cut,
then
cut the
yeah,
tape.
yeah, and then
Like,
he'll leave.
it was the nicest way possible to fire him. It's kind of how I think of it, to be honest.
They demoted him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, if it still comes with a paycheck, can I really call it a demotion?
Well, exactly. So it's not. Yeah. Right. Well, it's something like that. But hey, the new guy. And I don't know his name, and I think that's exactly how Nintendo wants it. He did do a good job at
Evan
least. So,
Afghani.
That's right.
oh wow. Okay, I just got stunted on. Dang.
Yeah, all over.
I'm
Fake
embarrassed.
Mario fan.
Wow.
It's fine. I was like,
I'm
it's
the
a Kevin,
true Mario
I think.
fan here.
Wow. Dang it.
I'm
I
the
do have to.
biggest Mario fan on this podcast.
Hold on, let me put that on the.
That's
all
okay.
right.
I'm Team Sonic now. Anyway.
Writer, Twinfinite streamer, greatest shit poster, true Mario fan. Ooh, look at that.
My childhood Sonic doll.
I was like, do I have any
That's
childhood
cute. I like
Sonic
it.
dolls? No,
I have a
don't.
picture of me as a little like 2 or 3 year old with a giant like a giant Sonic costume mascot.
Nice.
Was he
Where was
scary?
that taken at?
He was a little scary. I don't know, and I asked my parents, and they don't remember either.
Interesting.
I do remember that somebody had talked about how like Sega had a sort of semi amusement park / arcade. Was it in Florida at like a
At
Disney
Epcot.
thing?
Oh,
That's what
you're
it
asking
was.
the right
Yeah.
person about it. It was at Innoventions around 1995 in Epcot. Yeah, it was this just giant kind of exhibition with a bunch of game stations and demos, sometimes for unreleased games. They had a giant statue of Sonic the Hedgehog there. They had some Sega Saturn stuff. They even had a kiosk for the Sega Channel.
Nice.
You remember that? Yeah. So I was a big fan of that whole business. It was cool.
Do you think, other video game icons have had their voice actors changed over the years, like Sonic, for example?
Mhm.
Do you think that it was time for a voice actor shift for Mario?
They could have waited a little longer, probably, but it was like getting close to about time. You're going to have to do that sooner or later, right? And I mean, look, in a morbid sense, maybe they're thinking is we'd rather do it on our terms instead of just waiting for the person to pass away and then have to scramble for it, right?
Yeah.
Even though that
Yeah.
is crappy in a lot of ways, I get it, but maybe
But it's a
that was their
business.
thinking. Yep.
I
maybe that
feel like
was their
Disney's
thinking.
kind of used to that by now. They just usually wait.
They wait, yeah. When because I remember when the voice of Mickey from my childhood, I think Wayne Allwine died
Yeah.
in kind of the 2000s, maybe early 2010s. It was just like, oh, he's dead, and it's like now they have to find a new Mickey. Okay, and there kind of was this interesting period of, oh, who is the new Mickey? We don't know, and it was kind of like with Mario, where we heard the voice.
Yeah.
And like random things like Hallmark gift cards and whatnot before we actually found out who was doing it.
Uh-huh.
And I wonder if Mario Wonder itself had something to do with this. It's like, Nintendo's version of new era, new energy. So they wanted to get new voice actors, even though they tried to make them sound like the old voice actors. But like, it's a similar vibe, I feel like. They're just trying to kind of move forward with the Mario franchise in some way. And maybe to them, that was like, we need young blood.
It might have been. It would have been weird. Can you imagine if like they're like, we're gonna change the voice of that too? It's gonna not only be changing, it's doing it. We're gonna change the direction. It'll be
Mario's
real
just
weird.
standing on top of a building. Oh man, this is happening.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, he's gonna be from Pittsburgh now. He's gonna call people yins. and
Nah, he
stuff.
should be from. We gotta get him from Boston.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, there we go. Hey,
Yeah, it's gonna sound like
this
Matt
Bowser
Damon.
guy is wicked awesome.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh God, no. Oh no.
Oh no.
let's it go.
Fortnite superstar Peter Griffin.
Fortnite Super Saiyan Mario Family Guy funny clip, man.
Yeah, boy.
In terms of other news, speaking of things that are now gone, I feel like this is the best time to throw it in. E3.
Mhm.
Mario says 4 words. I say, what's the difference? Who does it? Look, Yarden.
I don't know
let
if
the man go
you
in
put
peace.
them side by side, the voices. I don't know that I would be able to tell the difference.
There's a
No, it's
youthful
fine.
energy, a vibrance.
Here we go. Here we go. That's 3 words right there. And then he says, yippee. That's
And then
4.
he
There's probably more than
says,
just that.
Wowie
So
the
long, Gay
Zowie.
Bowser.
So
Yeah.
long, Mr. Gay Bowser.
So long, Gay Bowser. The most iconic line.
Yeah. Speaking of icons that are dead, E3.
Yes.
That is officially done. It is over. Jeff won. Summer pool party from now until forever. I feel like we kind of saw this coming, right? Like,
It was a long time
Probably
coming.
when it didn't come together last year, that was basically the death knell. We sort of figured that it wasn't going to come back from that with seemingly an actual like good company like Reed Pop who knows how to put on these exhibitions with things like
oh
PAX.
yeah,
They weren't able to make it
they
happen
backed out.
because there's just no interest anymore. I think E3 has been gone for a few years, and at that point, everybody's marketing team has already allocated that marketing budget elsewhere and has been doing fine anyways. It's kind of hard to ask them to suddenly get back into E3, especially big companies like Nintendo who can just do a Nintendo Direct whenever they want and they know people are going to watch that. They don't need to tag along to E3 and pay the ESA a bunch of money for things like floor space for what exactly anymore. Um, it's a bummer. I liked E3 a lot. I got to go a bunch of times. The whole reason I even really got into games journalism was because I wanted to go to E3. It was basically my dream. So it always meant a ton to me to be able to go there and to see it and kind of enjoy the spectacle of it all. So I feel bad for people who didn't get to do that and didn't get to experience it. I hope that things like what Nintendo did in Seattle during PAX this year, where they basically
Hmm.
kind of had a mini E3 of their own. Hope we have more of that, just so that other people are able to enjoy these kind of exhibit spaces with all these sort of fun events going on. Chance to play a couple games early, a chance to get to hang around fans and enjoy fun random things like mini concerts and exclusive merch and that kind of stuff.
I mean, I
Yeah,
think.
it is sad.
Go ahead.
Did you ever go to an E3, Rebecca?
No, I didn't. By
Oh,
the time I started really getting into the industry, pandemic and then went away. And even just on the side of being a fan and watching it online, it always felt like Christmas every year. And
yeah.
I liked that it was consolidated into one week where everybody was on the same page and knew when everything was happening. And it was really just exciting about all the announcements, and it wasn't filled with advertisements and scattered throughout the summer. And I'm not talking about anything in particular, but it was something special, and in a lot of ways in person, and watching it from the couch. And I don't know if we'll get that exact same thing back, but it was a long time coming.
Yeah, and I think for me, I managed to go to the 2018 E3 because of Zelda Universe, so I was able to kind of get in, and I just still remember as a kid seeing a Nintendo, excuse me, a Nintendo Power or another magazine with like an E3 ad in it, and I was like, they get to see games early, like I really want to get in
Mhm.
on this, and that was like late 90s, I think. So the fact that I was able to go literally like the year before the last one, was important. I mean, I guess they did kind of do a 2020 E3, but like when you look online, a lot of people are just kind of like, nah, the last one was 2019. Like, because that's the last one anybody could go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like also the fact that the company started realizing that they can do it the way Nintendo does it and just show like an online presentation at their own time. It doesn't have to be an in-person kind of event. If we can get our messages across by just doing it digitally. That I think also started to chip away at what E3 really was. So that was, I feel like, a factor as well.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna date myself here. My first E3 was, I think, 2010. It was the one where they were first showing off the 3DS. Very exciting. It
Ooh.
was,
Ooh.
yeah, and every 3DS was tethered to some like lady. Like they're all
Oh,
tethered to
yeah.
So
some
I
you
kinda
lady's
couldn't walk
remember
off
waist.
with it.
So like you couldn't use it unless you literally was holding onto this thing, literally like roped around somebody's
Oh my
waist. And
gosh.
you're just like looking at a picture of Mario and like in 3D, and you're like, ooh, ah. And like the lady's like, I'm glad you're having fun. I was like, yes, thank you.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I forgot you were here. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, here you
I
go.
guess I'll get going now.
God, it was fun. That was fun. I was there for that, for the Skyward Sword gear, which that also feels
Ooh.
ancient. Then they were first showing off the Wii U,
Yeah.
the Breath of the Wild booth. I guess I'm equating everything with Nintendo as I do sometimes. Nintendo always did have the most exciting booths, though. Let's just be honest. Even their Luigi's Mansion 3 booth ruled. It looked like you were actually inside the spooky mansion. For Mario Odyssey, it looked like you were actually in New Donk City. Like it was like a little mini theme park, and that's when it was at its best. That's when it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I was there for the Smash Brothers year, so I
Nice.
still have all the pictures of all the big props that they'll like
Yeah.
every now and then kind of bring back out for some other event. I think
Yeah,
they
they
might
had
have even
those.
been at live this year.
They were at live. They
Yeah.
were, and I was happy to see them again because they're still friends. I like
An
seeing
old
King
friend.
DDD's hammer, yeah,
Mhm.
and Bayonetta's boots, right? Or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
shoes.
it's the boot
Well,
guns.
sorry, I think yes, the shoes that go in the boots. That's right.
Yeah. No, I think I'll have to look back at my photos, but I was like, I'm pretty sure it's like the actual like they try to get everything there. And then yeah, like the Minato and all that. They're just like
the
sitting there.
Monundo.
The Monundo.
My brother could never say it right. He always says Monundo, so now it's the Monundo to
The
me. We're
Monundo.
always using our Monundo arts on each other.
Back when it used to be called Beginning of the World or whatever. That was a good
Really?
time. Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles I think was originally called Minato Beginning of the World, and
You're right.
the only reason why I remember that is because I had it on my Amazon wish list, and I think Xenoblade was just about to come out, but Amazon still had the old posting for Minato, and I was
Yeah.
like, when's this Minato game coming out?
Oh my gosh.
That's some Operation Rainfall stuff, man. I remember those days.
Yeah, I wound up buying the other two games, but oh well. Yeah,
I've been
the
hearing
work.
good things about the last story like recently, so I might have to check that out sometime. Then the other one was Pandora's Tower, I think.
Which I heard was like kind of meh. Like you
Yeah.
either loved it or didn't.
I think that's right.
I'll always remember the Wii Music E3.
Oh yeah, that was rough. That guy with the drums.
And talking about ski trips. Was that the same one? I'm pretty sure that was the same one.
Yeah, because they had some Shaun White game or something. They showed that.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I watched that
yes.
one not too long. It's like one of their last real E3 presentations they ever
In
did, like on a
person.
stage.
Yeah.
And I mean those Wii presentations were always so weird because they had fully embraced we're the console for families, and it was as the kids would say today, a little cringe.
Little
sometimes.
cringe.
Yeah, there's always some new like Rabbids game or something in a Just Dance sequence, right?
It's interesting
Yeah.
because like I feel like the beginning of the end was the Nintendo Direct. Like kind of
sure.
the slow descent of E3
Mhm.
because we've
Yeah.
been
Yeah, 'cause
talking
it's-
about like that realization like
Yeah.
we don't actually
It was a
need
better
this
format
anymore.
for them.
This is
And-
all Iwata's fault, is what you're saying.
I feel no,
Mhm.
actually my theory is that it's Skyward Sword's fault. And
As are most problems, right?
That Skyward Sword. Because I felt like Nintendo was so embarrassed by the Skyward Sword demo that they did because it wasn't working half the time. And they
Oh, that's
begged people to turn
right.
off their cell phones
Mm.
in order to get people to like
Yeah.
for the Wii remote to work. And I can't remember if this was before or after Control Plus was announced. But anyway, like they couldn't get the damn thing to work. And I feel like that was like, we can't do this again. So we have to do this on our own terms.
Wow.
And so we're
Right.
just
So
going to show
Skyward Sword killed the Nintendo in person
E3
at
press
E3
conference.
presentation,
You know what?
Yeah,
which
it's that
therefore
domino
killed
meme.
E3.
Yeah, Skyward Sword
Wow.
presentation, and then the top domino is E3 is dead.
Wow.
It is weird how often like that used to be a thing. Like, oh, at these stage shows, we're gonna actually play the game
Yeah,
in front of you. Like, even remember Uncharted 4?
yeah, and there's a
like
trophy
right,
for that.
Right. I think that was the last time. I think that's when people were saying, like, why are we doing this? People believe us that these games are real now.
Well, Nintendo
Um,
still did that even with the Nintendo Direct by having Treehouse afterwards.
right.
At least there was
that's
that.
true.
But I feel like at that point, everything was far more controlled.
Yes.
The Wii
Yeah.
U was a different system. The Switch inevitably a different system. They weren't having the same
They could
problems
pan
with motion
away
controls.
when, they could pan away to an interview or something when something was going wrong. They didn't have to be showcasing it in front of hundreds of people.
But like even the Black Flag demo was a big E3 moment because the game crashed mid demo on the big screen during Ubisoft's press conference,
yeah.
and they had to cut it short.
It is weird that we were
Mhm.
doing that for as long. I think at first it was because you won't believe that this game's real unless we play it. Like, Now, yeah, we get it. Video games look good. Like, we know.
But then we
I
had
don't know. What's the last time you saw a video game that looked so good that you didn't even believe it, right? Like, I believe it.
Watch Dogs because it didn't wind up being true.
Well, right. And that was like, that's like well over 10 years ago now, right?
Leave it in the past.
Yeah. God.
Um,
Remember Killzone 2?
I kind of do. I don't remember there being like a big thing. I remember
was a
Resistant
big
2's
thing.
demo. I remember the Uncharted 2 and 3 demos. Like those did really well. Other than like, yeah, Uncharted 4 had the stage fright one.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny.
I miss Uncharted. I really
Yeah.
do. I was a big Uncharted guy.
When are they gonna remake Uncharted 1 like 5 times?
Yeah, remake an Uncharted game instead of like the Last of Us game that came out like 3 years ago, for crying out loud. I don't know.
My big theory is
Whatever.
that they're gonna do part 1 again, but it's gonna be the HBO version of it. That's
A
my
movie
big.
version, and
That's-
all it will do is like add the scene with Bill and
Yeah, it's just gonna be
yeah.
a different. Yeah,
Rich.
season 1,
great.
not part 1. That's what they'll call it.
Yes, yeah, Last of Us season
Oh
1.
my
There you
god!
go. There you go.
That way they can do a season 2 when season 2 comes out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hire me.
Cut the check.
Yeah, cut the check. So a couple of other things did kind of happen, especially towards the end of the year. Especially when like, could we have seen this coming? The Embracer Group shutting down a bunch of studios that it had previously bought back in like 2020. They went on this massive shopping spree and started buying up all of these different development studios like Free Radical and Volition, and they're gone now because of a $2 billion deal that Embracer Group was not able to obtain. And I don't remember the specifics of this $2 billion deal, but I do know that because of this, they started restructuring heavily, and all of these studios shut down.
Yes.
And personally, like I said, I was feeling really nervous watching Embracer like buy all these studios, and I think people were kind of sort of praising it because of the possible games that, like, we were going to get a Time Splitters again, and all these other big things were going to happen. Did you guys have that kind of same feeling of like, this is weird? Like, why is this one big company suddenly buying up all these? Like, this can't work.
I probably should have. We probably should have all seen this coming. What's happening now?
Yeah,
just
Monday
closing
morning
everything.
quarterbacking. Yeah,
Right. Because you can't. Things don't actually work like that. You can't just buy your way into being a big AAA studio out of nothing, right? Even like these Activisions and these EAs, there's a lot of legacy stuff there, right? There's a lot of stuff that had to happen for them to get to that point.
Mhm.
They didn't just go out and suddenly acquire 50 studios and that's where they are. And, like the weird thing is that even like Embracer even did have some games this year that did well, like Dead Island 2, and it still just didn't matter. There's clearly no future there, and it's only going to get worse. And I'm worried about other studios like Eidos Montreal.
I was gonna
right?
say,
And
yeah.
some of the other ones. Like, what's gonna happen here? It's not like these people are suddenly gonna be like, well, these studios now we're done. The bloodletting's over. We're gonna just make all these dreaming games again. I think it was a bad sign when the Saints Row game didn't hit last year, when that was a big flop. I think that, and then not getting the Saudi money, I think was where that $2 billion was supposed to come from. I think that's what really did them in.
Yeah, because I mean, Eidos Montreal is still technically licking its wounds after Avengers, right? Like they have shut that game down.
Well, so that was Crystal Dynamics. Eidos Montreal was
Crystal Diamond. No, my bad. Yeah,
but Eidos Montreal was the Guardians of the Galaxy, which people really liked.
Really good.
Well, people really liked it. Sales wise, it was like okay. Its sales suffered a lot because so many people thought it was just going to be the Avengers. Because the Avengers wasn't well liked, Guardians of the Galaxy paid for that, which isn't fair because it was a good game.
It's actually really good.
But that, so they're supposed to be making, I think, a new Deus Ex, right? And Crystal Dynamics is supposed to be making a new Tomb Raider and helping with Perfect Dark. So I don't know what's going to happen either of those studios going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping, but especially, I guess, with Avengers having not done the numbers that they wanted, and especially that's why Square Enix had to let it go. It has not been a very particularly great year, like I said before, for those making the video games that we are enjoying as of 2023.
Right. Oh, I mean, there's been a ton of layoffs. Games are getting more and more expensive to make. Uh, I wonder if that stuff's going to turn around. Because again, I think there's reason to be worried when you look at next year and you're thinking, okay, well, I know on the horizon there's these big things like Grand Theft Auto 6 that are going to be so hugely lift the entire industry up. And Nintendo's going to be fine. Nintendo is going to probably have their next console next year, if not that, not too long after that. So, of course, they'll be okay. But this kind of big AAA video game business, and like we got some idea. Okay, a Spider-Man 2 that costs a $300 million to make now. It takes this long to do.
That's what I mean. Like
And how
I feel
sustainable is
like
that?
that's the problem. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
They're really focusing on huge games with huge budgets and huge development times. And it just it's going to be these massive AAA games that come every 5-6 years, and then indies.
Well, and I think the irony of that conversation too is that like they're doing it because they feel like that is the safer route to take, is to do these $1 million AAA budget title games that are generally either IPs or sequels because we know that this will sell, even though, they're not
Well,
really as concerned about the quality of said product. So,
that's the kind of other big consequence you're talking about, those the IP, right?
yeah.
Like we're seeing so many superhero IPs being done. I mean, at the Game Awards, Blade was a big announcement. One of the other big announcements, Jurassic Park. Those games look good. So it's hard to be too upset about it, but this is definitely being done because it is just safer and easier to rely on something that is established
It's
instead
popular,
of
it's established, yeah.
right instead of even going back to an older IP, let alone making a new IP, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which almost makes Sega's announcements of Jet Set Radio and especially older games like specifically Golden Axe. They tried a bunch of different times to get Golden Axe to work.
Beast Rider or whatever, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
And we
Uh,
got a Streets of Rage 4 and that did really well
oh,
critically, and now we're getting a Streets of Rage Revolution.
yeah.
Um
That's the
so
weirdest one to me because we did already get a
yeah,
good new Streets of Rage game. And I don't know if this is I don't think it's confirmed, but it looks like the Shinobi game is maybe being made by the Streets of Rage 4 people.
it
At least
looked
it
it
has a
to
similar
me.
style,
Yeah.
right?
I
So
mean, fingers crossed.
I do hope I hope this Sega thing works out and other companies, especially older legacy companies, could say, "Hey, maybe we should bring back some of our IP," and maybe that's where sometimes it is okay for the budget to be a bit more constrained. Like Jet Set Radio looks like that's a bigger game, but what they're doing with Shinobi is that's not gonna be a three hundred
Yeah, like
dollar,
I would
three hundred
prefer they
million dollar game or Golden Axe, right?
Yeah, I would prefer that they try not to reinvent the wheel because I think a lot of us will be willing to return to these games that have more simplistic arcadey purposes or premises rather. We're more likely to go back and play those games because either nostalgia lens or just general interest. And so I don't feel like Sega really needs to try to recreate or reinvent what those games used to be and try to do like, because I mean that was like the Beast Riders, or I think they made a Golden Axe like the Sega Ages on the PS2. Like they had
Oh
that era
God,
where they
that
tried
one,
to do that with all these older
right?
titles like Bonanza Bros and things like that, and they were not very well
Right.
made.
Like, yeah, you're not gonna make a AAA Golden Axe game today. Like, no, that's not gonna work. People aren't gonna care. You could make like a fun Golden Axe game still that is this bit more of a mid-tier budget and mid-tier price and what have you, and that could still hit. That could be something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I want to be very optimistic about Sega's choice here because even though it's going back to old IPs as they were originally talking about, it's not their safer picks, in my opinion.
Right.
It's
It's
not a
it's not
Sonic.
like a Dragon, Sonic, or
Yeah,
Persona, so it's suddenly risky, right?
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like it's not the games that are just like on, always on social media or having like general people just talking about it constantly. These are games that people have been wanting, some of them for years, like Jet Set. All of these games may be getting like spiritual successors by the indie scene. And just generally like
Right.
this is a choice. Like this can be a risky choice for them to do.
I mean,
So I'm happy
Jet
about
Set
it.
Radio literally had its like indie spiritual successor, Bomb Rush Cyberfuck, came out this year, and it was good, but
Yeah,
it doesn't really diminish people's excitement for an actual Jet
Jet
Set
Set.
Radio coming up.
Yep. Yeah, so I think that kind of goes back into this question, but like, yeah, we are seeing that the game industry is hitting this point, right? And we've been kind of looking at this for years. We saw it with the PS3 era where we were kind of getting like yearly franchises. All these games were constantly coming out. If you look at my PS3 like shelf, it is much grander in scale than say my PS4 shelf and now my PS5 shelf. And I know we're halfway through this life cycle, I suppose, or almost halfway through this life
It's
cycle.
weird to think it's halfway.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because
I
like,
mean,
the catalogs are getting smaller and smaller, in my opinion.
remember when we just got 3 major Grand Theft Auto games on the PlayStation 2?
Yeah.
And now, like, we're just not. There just wasn't a new one during the Xbox One era. And then
No.
we're gonna get the next one late into the next system's era, right? Like, it's just completely different.
Yeah, and again, it comes at the consequence of if this game doesn't sell, like we're seeing. Most recent example is Fantastic, the developers of The Day Before, like probably one of the biggest bombs that we have seen this year,
Yes.
and the studio closed. Now, this may not be the best example because we're still not sure if this group was a fraudster or not.
Right. It may not have ever even existed, but I get the point that like one big flop and you're out.
And you're out. Yeah, and it's just like if Spider-Man 2, for whatever, for example, doesn't sell gangbusters, then Insomniac has to suddenly cut their losses.
I mean, when Redfall was a bomb, everybody's kind of immediate reaction was, "Oh, is this studio dead?" And
yeah,
Microsoft basically had to come out and say, "No, they're not." You kind of need a pop of Microsoft at that point to maybe keep you afloat because a single bomb is so costly.
It ruins you.
Well, and that's what we were hoping that, or I guess maybe that's what people were hoping Embracer Group was going to be, because you have this big money bag, this money tree that's just going to funnel all of these different games coming out from these developers. But again, one wrong move and
that's
you're out.
Exactly what happened with Saints Row, right? Like, granted, their Volition's game before that was Agents of Mayhem, which was also a big bomb. So, like, one bomb's bad, 2 bombs in a row. Yeah, you're toast. And yeah, now Volition just isn't a thing anymore.
Yeah. Do we think that what is this even going to look like as we get towards the end of not even 2024, but like the end of this console life cycle and beyond?
I guess that's the worry. Like, there's got to be a reckoning at some point. Maybe the things that we are investing in aren't necessarily tools to make the game somehow even bigger and more complex. Maybe at some point we have to have things that actually help make the development a little faster and a little easier. And like, even as I say that, I see like the buzzword AI floating above me, and I'm kind of shooing it away.
No.
It's like distasteful, but right,
Employ
exactly.
Smaller teams.
Right.
We use assets every now and then.
Well, then people will yell at you that you're not even a sequel, you're an expansion. People did that with Tears of the freaking Kingdom, right? So you're gonna always lose that battle.
Yeah, and that battle makes me so angry because everyone's favorite game is Majora's Mask, a game that reused like 90% of its assets.
Yep. It's absolutely insane.
I
don't know. I worry that's a problem that's gonna get worse before it gets better. And like, if the Switch 2, if the fidelity is improved, because this is a problem that happened really in the Xbox One era, starting with 360, because fidelity got so much better. This problem is going to catch up with Nintendo even at some point, unless they can still position people to be excited about things like 2D Kirby games and whatnot. This is going to come for Nintendo eventually also.
It kind of did in the Wii U era too, because this was a company that didn't understand HD, and they made it clear that they really struggled with the whole 1080p thing.
The Pokemon company still does.
The Pokemon company can't.
And yet they're the best-selling company. Oh my god!
Look, Game Freak is what happens when you're an indie developer that somehow creates one of the biggest global franchises, and you're just like, oh shit, what do we do?
Yeah, right.
and they've been doing that for the last 25 years.
Yeah, and then they make a Tempo the badass outfit, and nobody buys it, so they're still gotta keep making the Pokemans.
Well, somebody was like, "Oh, I want Game Freak to make more original games." I'm like, "Yeah, it's called
And then they
it's
did.
Little Town Story, and
Town
nobody fucking bought it."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that or Harmo Knight, was that the? Remember
Yeah,
that
that was
No,
it
they
on the
just are
3DS too.
they.
Drill Dozer.
Let's be real, they're not a good developer, and Pokemon deserves better.
I wouldn't
So
say
you
they're
want
the
Naughty
worst,
Dog
but
to make Pokemon.
I
Yeah,
didn't say they're the
Naughty
worst. I
Dog.
said they're not a good developer.
yeah,
They're definitely yeah, there's that. I think part of it is the time constraints are
The time
insane.
constraints, and also they're just I mean, that is part of it, but I don't think that's the only part of it. I think that they are not deserving of the highest grossing franchise in the world.
they're not
Yeah.
The
very
highest
good
grossing
at
media
optimizing.
producers.
I think that was it for me. Is like they needed help to make Gold and Silver, their sequel. The game that they originally released had a ton of bugs, and that just kind of continues to happen where the original release of, like, let's say Ruby and Sapphire is kind of the test bed for what the ultimate game is with Emerald. Like Emerald, just wait for Emerald to come out and you have the actual game they intended to make. Wait for
Right.
Platinum to come out and you have the actual game they intended to make.
We don't even
have that
get
anymore.
we don't get that. We don't even really get patches. We get just the DLC that just adds new content but doesn't fix anything. Like, man,
now
I
we're
thought,
getting
like, oh,
more.
yeah,
we're getting
just
an
getting more.
epilogue now.
We're just getting more shit, basically.
Basically.
But, oh well, Pokemon. Yeah, Pokemon makes me a little sad. I liked Arceus though. The
Arceus was
Pokemon Legends
pretty
was
good.
pretty fun.
But
It was
everyone
like,
made fun of it because of the trees.
yeah, hey, it was ugly. We thought that was ugly. It looks like freaking Last of Us compared to Scarlet and Violet now. So, oh no.
Yeah, I think ultimately this conversation that I wanted to have, especially in terms of like the layoffs and everything, kind of goes to say that, again, this was a very awkward year for games. Like, we had some of the best games come out of this generation, and yet we've had some of the worst news to come out of gaming in this year. Probably only beaten by the year of Activision. What was it, 2021, 2022? Just that entire court case just
when
coming to
was
light.
that? Gosh, yeah, that feels like forever
20 I
ago.
think it was 21.
Yeah. I
Was
know
it?
I moved. I was in the new house when that happened. But yeah, I think we're coming to a point where, like you said, Mike, there's either a reckoning, like, when's the video game crash part 2 gonna happen?
That's like the worst case. That's what you fear. I think one thing that can help is if we get more of these expanded loans, things like a Miles Morales, where you're kind of a bit more allowed to reuse assets. And like Jumfrey was kind of asking about that. Maybe that's one way you can get away with that a little bit without coming under so much scrutiny or vitriol, right?
Yeah.
People understand expanded loans a little bit better now than maybe they did before. So that
I
might
mean,
be a bit more of a viable business model.
and I think it's also comes to some responsibility of the gamer too. Like, we spend a lot of time bashing developers for reusing assets. I remember Sonic Superstars, for example, like, oh, it uses the same confirm sound effect. Like, how dare
Yeah.
they? And I was like,
Right.
what the hell does that mean? Like, Square
Well,
Enix is like the
Listen.
master of reusing sound effects. Like, we don't.
I
give them
saw
crap.
somebody complain that they reused New York City in
Yeah!
Spider-Man.
Right. It's like, what do you
instead of-
want?
Oh,
It's
that's
New York
Ultimate's
City.
best tweet.
It sounded like it would. Well, but then was that making fun of the person that
Yeah,
said that? Then
it's like we'll make a
Okay.
New York 2 for
Yeah.
the next Spider-Man.
Right. And even like it wasn't like Spider-Man 2 had such a bigger map anyways. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's insane. If I was a developer, I would absolutely just go insane. I couldn't handle just the
Just-
constant idiotic comments where people have no idea what they're talking about. I don't really know how game development works either, really, but at least, I'm not going to
Well,
say
but
stupid
you know
shit
that.
like that.
if you're a Pokemon fan, it's just copy paste. That's all
Yeah,
game
apparently,
development
right.
is. Yeah,
Yeah, apparently.
apparently. I think they're like, there's a very clearly unsustainable ecosystem that publishers and marketers have created, but I also feel like there's so much pressure from us, the consumer, where we just have this like very loud minority of gamers that are very upset at even the smallest trivial things that don't actually mean anything to the game's life or longevity or goodness of the game. And I just kind of wish that we could knock that shit off, to be honest. I feel like that would help. But all this to say, we look, 2023 is over, right? Um, if we were to give 2023, let's get our report cards out. If we were to give them a letter grade, if the video games a letter grade, what would we give it?
I mean, it's weird because in terms of releases, it's one of the strongest years we've ever had. Like for
Hmm.
me, I had to go back to like 1998 when we were getting things like Metal Gear Solid 1 and Ocarina of Time, Pokemon Red and Blue, Griffin Dango, all these like monumental
GoldenEye.
games. GoldenEye, Half Life.
Yeah.
So it's like that's the kind of year I have to go back to think of getting so many quality releases. But then like like the industry itself and the trends and the layoffs, like that stuff is rough. So it's like an A plus on games and a D in terms of what's going on with the
Yeah,
industry right now and where maybe we're heading.
I agree with that. I think I would say the same. Personally, maybe a little bit lower of a score, but I think considering everybody's tastes and quality of games across the board, I would say an A or A plus. But agreed with the greater workings of the industry being lower.
Yeah, and I think if I was just gonna average it all out, I'd probably say like a B plus. Because yeah, I again just great games. Alan Wake 2 was sort of a surprise. I think people were anticipating it, but I think it was a surprise to see it so quickly rise
It,
above and get these amazing
it
critic
and Baldur's
scores.
Gate 3 like
Baldur's
punched
Gate
way above
3.
their weights, which is what's really fun about those games, I think. We thought those would be like niche games and then they ended up being
Yeah.
big deals.
And that game was in development forever and
Yep.
they let it cook and you got game of the year out of it. Like we got some. I remember some people saying like this is the best year of DLCs. Like we did get Valhalla last week. A lot of people were praising that.
Yeah, we got that. Separate Ways for Resident Evil 4.
Yep.
I mean, if you
Burning
consider
Shores.
Burning Shore, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Phantom Liberty, people really like. Right, so
Yeah, it made
lots of good stuff.
Cyberpunk best ongoing game or on the list for
Yeah,
best ongoing game.
sure. Oh, it won. It won that category.
Yeah, video games, man. But yeah, it's just I'm very not frightened because I'm not, working in the industry, but I'm very, very, very concerned. Like it is something that I the cost of making and marketing games is only going up, and the risk reward factor of creating a video game is at a point where, like you said earlier, Mike, just maybe one bad game you might survive, but two bad games.
Right. And you always have to remember, like the games we're gonna see like next year, at least the big games, are the games that they started working on 6, 7, 8 years ago. Like, what are the games that they're starting to work on now going to look like when they finally come out with all of these concerns going into them?
Yeah, like
That's
games
the
are
kind of
taking
question mark.
longer to make.
Yep.
Like these, Game Freak is kind of proving that this is not a sustainable market to create a video game once every year, and they are a smaller studio. Activision or especially Activision was kind of like we had two teams. One was working on Call of Duty A, the other was working on Call of Duty B, and we had
Yeah.
a game a year, baby. And then Modern Warfare 3 this year came out and was basically DLC for Modern Warfare 2 because it technically was.
Yep. Yep.
So,
And like that game's gonna sell well. Of course it is, but it's not gonna do as well. And then there's always the risk of the next Call of Duty taking a hit if people feel burnt
yeah.
by that one. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's strange. It's strange times, and I wonder. I definitely think 2024 is going to be a quieter year than this. In some ways, I welcome that because I can go back and play some more old games and not
Yeah.
just be
I
constantly on
need
this
it.
race to keep up with like every giant new release. And when I think I'm done, and suddenly Baldur's Gate 3 is supposedly Game of the Year, and I guess I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3 now, right? So
Well, you gotta play the
yeah,
first two too.
yeah, no, I don't.
Nope.
You gotta
Not
make
doing
sure every
that.
character lives. That's the goal.
Ugh.
But what are we looking forward to in 2024? Are we hoping, like Mike said, for a quieter year?
Think
I'm
so.
ready for new Switch hardware.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Is I do want. I will be pretty sad if we go through 2024 and don't actually get the next Switch. And to be clear, I also am hoping slash expecting that launches with the next 3D Mario game. So That's the big stuff that I guess is still slightly up in the air, although it'll be weird. Of what we actually know is happening, I'm looking forward to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth quite a lot. I loved Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah, me too. I I think definitely I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I think I'm also looking forward to. Hold on, let me get a zoom in on Frisk Head. Um, I think I'm really looking forward to just trying to go back and play some of these 2023 games that I kind of missed out on just because I was stuck playing a game that I wanted to complete, even though sometimes it kind of felt like a slog. But yeah, we'll never know. I mean, we'll see what happens in January. We'll see what happens in January or February, especially as we get closer to the end of fiscal year 2023.
Yeah, nice.
And maybe we'll see some new announcements. Like I'm looking forward to seeing what Nintendo's got on its slate for 2020. I mean, we got Thousand Year Door coming up.
Yeah, that better be 60 FPS.
Or
you right
no
now.
buy.
No, look, I don't mean to be a frame rate snob, even though I am. I'm not gonna play a game at 30 FPS when it was 60 FPS on the GameCube.
Was it on the
that-
GameCube?
It is, yeah. It
Yeah.
was.
Oh, it's 'cause, yeah.
Oh.
Tales of Symphonia was 60 on the GameCube. Then they released the remaster of that this year. It's 30 FPS, and I'm like, nope. Not
Apparently
doing
there were
that.
reasons for that. Apparently,
I know the reasons, and I'm still not satiated.
Still not satisfied.
I don't care. Figure it out.
Fix
Figure it
it.
out, or just don't do it. Just don't do it.
Yeah. Frisk, what are you looking forward to in 2024? Are you looking forward to meeting me?
Meow.
Frisk
Yeah,
wants them to
okay.
make a sequel to the hit movie musical Cats.
Oh,
Oh gosh.
with or without
Don't you-
buttholes?
Don't you have to love Cats, Rebecca? I mean, it's got your girl in it. It's got cats.
I don't.
mean,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
oh, okay. Well, I've seen it like 5 times. So
No,
I know
that
what-
doesn't exist. You must be dreaming about that.
I
love
love
it.
this cat. I've never.
He's all right.
I just want to pet him so bad. Anyway, yeah, I think there's definitely some games that I'm looking forward to in 2024. I personally don't know how I feel about a Switch announcement.
Really?
There's a part of me that's kind of like I've gotten so burnt out over the last like the first 3 years of the Switch's lifespan where they're like Switch Pro. That I'm
well,
just kind of like,
it is gonna suck because I bet you that the new Switch is not gonna have an OLED screen right away. So like, having to
I
revert
would.
to that.
No, they
Don't you
have
say
to.
that.
That would not.
Don't you
be-
say that.
No
you think
deal.
they have
No
to?
deal.
Yeah, I'll tell you what,
They
Rebecca.
can't go backwards. No.
If it doesn't have an
It's the
OLED
standard
screen, you
now.
owe me a Coke, okay? Because I
Okay.
think it's happening.
It's just the standard now with the Steam Deck.
You would
and
think. But you know what would be
You would
even
think.
worse? You would be even more standard for Nintendo if they got to sell you another new Switch 2 in a few years with an OLED screen.
yeah, you gotta wait. Look, Nintendo doesn't have to make better hardware; they just have to change the screen.
Yeah.
God.
It worked on me twice.
It's gonna happen.
Look, I bought a Vita. I didn't buy the Vita 2000 because it didn't have an OLED. All right,
I like my
OLEDs are
Vita.
amazing. Look, the PlayStation Portal doesn't have an OLED, but I will, I won't give it that much grief. Actually,
it's a
I
pretty
love my-
nice screen still.
Yeah, I love my Portal. I was making fun of that thing as soon as it was announced, and then I bought it. I'm like, this is actually my favorite thing.
I like it. I want to use it more, but whenever I am like using a handheld device, it's always like an hour or two when I go to bed, and I still have so much tough stuff to play on my Switch at all times that I haven't really been able to use that. I had the same problem with my Steam Deck. I don't really use it because that gaming time is just always taken up by my Switch, anyways.
I actually
This is
like
my
the
new
look of
baby.
that.
I play it
Yeah.
every day.
Oh, look at that! Is that the Did you get the new? Yeah, you got the new Steam Deck OLED.
She put cats on it.
Man,
Mm-hmm.
that does look nice.
I actually like the button
every
formation
single
on
day.
that one versus. I don't know. It's probably not even different from the old one, the original, but like,
It's exactly the same.
yeah,
It just looks nice.
just looks a little
Oh,
bit
look
cleaner.
at that.
All right. Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up for tonight's episode. Thank you guys so much for being here with me on this one. Let's go around the room real quick and see where we can find y'all. What are y'all up to? Mike, you're new. Let's start with you first.
Sure. I am Tokoto on Twitter and Twitch. Managing editor at GamesBeat.com. Go there to support my staff's work. And I do 90s Disney, which is a podcast with my brothers about Disney in the 90s. I have a couple of video game podcasts with Jeff Grubb, Last of the Nintendogs, our Nintendo show, and then Game Pesticides, our general video game show. And I'm always doing a bunch of stuff with Giant Bomb these days also. So you can see me hanging out with all of them over on Giant Bomb content as well.
Awesome.
You do a lot of awesome stuff, Mike. Love your work.
Thank you.
And speaking
You
of,
do too.
yeah, let's talk about what awesome stuff are you doing?
I'm not doing a whole lot of much right now, but I do sometimes stream and I do sometimes write on Twinfinite. You can find me online at forestminish, usually just Twitter and Twitch. Yeah, talk to me about video games.
I do a lot. And if you guys enjoyed tonight's episode, then please make sure to give this video a like and leave a comment. What games did you play from 2023, and were there any major disappointments for y'all this year? Let us know in the comments below. Remember, you can also find the audio-only version of this podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for DialogBOX. Hold on. DialogBOX.
No UE.
No
Nope.
UE. BOXUE. DialogBOX.
Yui, is that like Yuwu?
Yeah, it's like feng shui.
Oh no.
How do you talk
Oh,
about
no.
video games in order to enhance your... Oh, that's a good podcast idea. Anyway, stay tuned for Dialogue Bosch Way, where we talk about how video games can improve your life. Come back here next month where we're going to talk. I'm going to have a new group of people on. I think Josh is going to be on that one probably. We're going to talk about the games we played of 2023, whether they were new or not, and what our top 3 best and worst were. So be sure to tune back in here in January for that episode. That's right, Josh. Hi. I saw you. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, I have to... No. God, my Steam Deck. What's going on with this?